Hello, my name is Samuel Acosta.
Hi, my name is Natalia Flores.
Welcome back to another episode of Gov 101. Today we have
Berenice, Arellano.
And Luis Fimbres from the Probation Services Department.
Thank you, Ms. Arellano and Mr. Fimbres, for joining us today. Our podcast is here to educate the public on what each of the department does, and what better way to do that than to interview you guys on Gov 101. We will be asking 10 questions, and your answers should vary between 30 seconds to a minute. And yeah, we're gonna have fun with this.
So like a lightning round.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
If you guys could please give us a description of your role and your background, such as education and previous occupations that have led you to be in this position.
All right. I am currently the Chief Probation Officer, and along with my Deputy Chief Berenice, we oversee 3 divisions: Adult Probation, Juvenile Probation, and the Juvenile Detention Center. We are an extension of the Superior Court, so we are Superior Court employees, and we work at the judge's direction. My background is I graduated from the University of Arizona, so go Cats. And I previously, before working in probation, I worked in pretrial services in Pima County for a brief period of time. And before that, there was a miscellaneous jobs that had nothing to do with probation, but of course, all jobs prepare you for your future. So.
I am, like Luis mentioned, the Chief Deputy Probation Officer. I've been in that role for 3 years. I've been with the Probation Department about 18 years, a little more. Yeah. And I went to school at NAU, right? Full of And my degree has nothing to do with law enforcement. But when I came back to my hometown, there was an opportunity. I had not a lot of knowledge about what this job was about, but when I got the opportunity, I really enjoyed it. I enjoy what we do, and I love how we serve the community where I grew up in. And 18 years later, here we are.
Very nice. Thank you so much.
Of course.
So how do you guys specifically serve, and what role do you play in people's lives?
Our positions are the roles that our officers play, not specifically us. I think they play a more significant role. They provide services not only to the people that they supervise by enforcing whatever conditions or requests the court has for them as far as treatment, getting mental health care, or getting reemployed or reassociated into the community. And for juveniles, of course, helping unite the families, helping the kids get the education or the assistance they need to be successful and move forward. They do the majority of the hard work. I'll give credit. I think we would both give all the credit to our probation officers. But they also serve the community in that we're always looking for projects on how to assist the community. They do cleanups on the weekends using our county resources and state resources. They work hand in hand with community associations such as behavioral health agencies. And they serve back victims. We help restore victims' rights, restitution, things that they need to recover. So having that huge communication with the community, but we will give all the credit to our probation officers because they do work really hard with that.
And these programs are in lieu of someone going to prison. So keeping them in the community helps the community, right? They stay with their families, they keep employed, they contribute to the community. The officers, while doing all these things that Berenice already described, are keeping the community safe because there's conditions that they need to follow, and they're making sure that they're following those conditions. On the detention side, we deal with juveniles only, and the amount of work that's necessary to keep these juveniles in a safe place, it's incredible. So our detention officers have a tremendous duty to keep juveniles safe and provide everything that we're required to provide as by law.
How long do the juveniles stay in your facility?
It will depend on, of course, the judge will decide how long they stay. We are not, juvenile detention facilities are not designed to keep juveniles long-term, although unfortunately there are cases where juveniles remain there for long periods of time. But there is we do everything possible to get a juvenile out into the community and back home as soon as it's safely possible. So we work with families, we work with treatment providers in order to get them out as soon as possible.
If juveniles have a court date, do you provide the lawyers if a family needs a lawyer, or is that a different person?
No, it would be the superior court. When a juvenile is in a financial situation where they cannot afford their own lawyer, or the family cannot afford a lawyer, the Superior Court will appoint a lawyer.
Thank you.
Oh, were you gonna?
No.
No. Because I'm sure. So, what are some challenges involved in this department? In any perspective?
I think each division has its own challenges.
Of course, yeah.
Like everything besides the financial. My primary section for my career has been at adult probation, so my experience. And I think that's why we work so well together. My experience has come primarily from adult probation. Luis is primarily juvenile probation and detention. So for me, it's been to come into the world of juvenile, and it was an eye-opener. In juvenile, there's just a lot of components. The resources are very limited, especially in our community, because we're so small compared to when we talk to bigger counties like Pima and Maricopa, right? As far as, and when I mean resources, I mean the availability of treatment providers, housing, rehab facilities, finances, things of that sort. So that, if we could provide that for more families. And at detention, I mean, probably about 3 years ago, we ended up closing our juvenile detention center. So we no longer house juveniles here in Santa Cruz County. We have a facility, and we have officers working there. Our detention officers, we have about 4 officers only. So when a juvenile is detained in Santa Cruz County, they are transported to another facility in Pinal County, which is about almost 3 hours from here. So that, I mean, it decreases the visitation time, because families aren't readily available to travel to Pinal, which is in Florence. And of course, it's a different environment for the children. Here it was more local. It's Nogales, we all know each other, or we have some type of ties to each other. And over there, children are being exposed to other juveniles from other counties, because other counties also take their juveniles to those facilities. So many resources of that sort. And in adult, the same thing, I think, as far as providing resources. It's very limited.
Yeah, right. That would be one of the biggest challenges that we face.
Employment opportunities are limited.
The probation for the juvenile was when you're the dog, right? Like the
Oh, the old detention facility for juveniles? Yes.
That's when that closed down?
No, that one they moved from there in 2011
Right.
to this new facility.
Right. So when we say that the juvenile detention facility closed, we are no longer a full-fledged. We used to have 15 officers working in that facility, and we had officers working 3 shifts: morning, swing, graveyard, and it was a 24/7 operation. Anytime a juvenile was detained, we could bring them to this facility, and they could stay there for days, weeks, or whatever the judge orders. Right. With our current facility, it's a temporary holding facility. So we could hold a juvenile up to 23 hours. But after that, if they will remain in detention, we must transport them to Pinal County, where they are a full-fledged detention center.
What is the youngest person you had to process? What's the youngest age?
It was an 8-year-old. Yeah, and I know it's very sad, and it's something that, if we would be able to avoid that, we would have avoided it, but some things are out of our hands, right? And but yeah, it was luckily the kid wasn't there very long. We couldn't even get him good fitting clothes. I mean, it's not our policy just to detain anybody. We're very discreet on how we detain juveniles. It was unfortunate, but it happened, and the good thing is that we never saw him kill.
Yeah.
What's the most serious case that you'd like to inform the public to avoid, or youngsters to avoid, so they don't end up detained?
Well, I think for our community, one of the biggest temptations that we have, of course, is getting involved in the drug transportation business. There is, a big temptation with money and kids, right? If you could get those shoes, those clothes that you want, that console that you want, quick and easy, because they offer you a sum of money for transporting drugs. Some kids accept that, and some kids accept it for other reasons. Some kids want to help their families, right? And I'm talking about kids in ambos Nogales, right? Nogales, Sonora, Nogales, Arizona. And it's very sad, because that temptation is big to anybody. It's a temptation that's big to adults, but I really do think it's even bigger for kids. And I would, tell kids, resist the temptation, resist the heartbreak that you're going to cause your parents, resist, this very bad experience. And I'm not saying that these kids are will never, break free from this experience. They have the ability to do that, and we'll provide them a path to do that. So if they want to get out of this, they can, right? But it's going to take a lot in their part. It's going to take a lot in their family's part. So I think that's the biggest temptation, to kids globally.
And what is the craziest experience you've had as probation officers?
I think Lisa and I always share that our favorite part of the job was the field work. And when I say field work, it means, so probation officers play a dual role. Majority of the time they're in their office, of course, meeting with people, a lot of documentation, a lot of writing reports, because they connect a lot with the judges. But we also have to go to the homes and verify residents and do searches and do arrests. And probation has evolutionized a lot throughout the years. It's become more of a one-on-one, therapeutic, evidence-based practice. I think when we first started, it was more like, I hate to use words like hardcore, like we were always out in the field and trying to find and catch things.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But now, I think science has proven that doesn't work. It doesn't work. But I think that was the funnest part, going back to your question. Just being out in the field, conducting arrests, the adrenaline of just being out there with your colleagues and just having that experience. That's the law enforcement part of our job, right?
And you asked about a crazy experience. On my very first day, when I was given the opportunity to serve as a chief probation officer, I got a call in the evening, and one of my officers had been bitten by a dog. That had never happened before.
By a dog?
Right. And on my very first day, he was visiting. He was out doing home visits. He visited a home. The dog, got out of the home and bit him. He's okay. Everything's fine. He's still working with us, so he still likes us. He's a supervisor, by the way. But that was a very crazy experience. My very first day, as a chief probation officer, and I get that call. That's great.
Yeah, I had to call him and be like, congratulations. What's the situation?
Welcome. So we were visiting him at the hospital that night. His mom was there, and it was crazy.
Is it that bad?
It wasn't. Luckily, it wasn't that bad. He did have to get rabies shots.
Oh.
Yeah.
For precaution.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So
He was a trooper. Even after he got bit, he was like, can I still finish my contacts before I go to the hospital? I'm like, no, I don't feel like it.
And we're lucky to say that we have officers who with that type of attitude. So we've been lucky. We've been lucky of hiring very good people, and I have to say, I think out of all the people that work at probation, I think we only have one non-local, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody has been, bred and schooled here in the community. So we're lucky for that.
What's the most difficult case you had to witness?
There's been many, I think. I have to tell you that, working with families and the type of work that we do can be very heartbreaking and heart-wrenching at times. And with adults and juveniles, right? But when there are, especially juveniles, in my opinion, that have home situations that are very, very challenging, and these are all kids that they're out in the community that you might have went to school with them, you might have possibly played sports, or these are all kids that are out in the community just like us. But when you have a better understanding of where they're coming from, the privileges that they don't have that other kids do, the challenges that they have at such an early age, it could be very, very heartbreaking just to see. And it's our job, of course, to help the family, right? Help the family, help the juveniles, so that they could be in a better place. But sometimes these kids are in a position where the forces at home are much stronger than we are, right? We're an outsider, so gaining that type of influence, that type of getting to know these juveniles and getting them to trust us, it's very hard work, and it takes a long time, and sometimes we don't have that much time, right? Me personally, that would be one of the the saddest things that I experienced in my job.
Yeah.
I think for me, yes, that was probably eye-opening, I think, for juvenile for me. Very limited time, and you see the circumstances surrounding these juveniles and the challenges that they're facing. And based on their challenges, I think probation is probably the least of their worries at times. In the adult world, I think you run into a lot of interesting cases that are very sad, child abuse cases, domestic violence cases where you're trying to work with the client, but you're trying to also help the victim move forward through all of this. And domestic violence are probably one of the more challenging type of cases that you can supervise because, you know, they probably still have a relationship or they want to have a relationship. The victim has a lot of mental health needs that you still need to work with. So even though you're assigned to this case to help this individual that the court assigned you, the victim is attached to that case. And then when you see, you know, child abuse cases, well, they're innocent, you know. It's very emotionally draining at times to be a probation officer.
If you don't mind me just adding one more bit to what I shared regarding these juveniles. These juveniles have, you know, issues that they're dealing with, challenges that they're dealing with, which makes it very hard for them to operate like other kids who have better situations, who have family support, who may have, you know, other kids who do well in school. And the reason I'm sharing this is because these juveniles, wherever they go, be it school or anywhere they tend to go, these challenges that they're experiencing makes it very hard for them to be successful where they're going. And if you don't have people who will have patience and offer them, you know, an opportunity to better themselves, to better the situation, they just keep getting rejected after rejection after rejection in different areas. And that just piles up to their situations. So I wanted to share that because we work with that, and maybe if the community out there is hearing this conversation, maybe, you know, the people who work at schools, people who, you know, who are offering jobs, can take a moment to reflect, you know, on these individuals, and we're talking about adults too, right? I'm a little focused on juveniles right now, but this happens to adults as well. And as a community, if we could, you know, start working more with these individuals with challenges, maybe we could, you know, improve that life, and if we could improve that life, it could improve their home life, and that's good for the community.
How do you keep a healthy mentality after witnessing difficult moments?
It's you know, thank you for that question because it is difficult. It's very difficult to detach yourself sometimes. But if you don't do it, you could become unhealthy, and then you could, you know, not only suffer in your job but possibly suffer in your home life as well. So you know, for me, I like to do everything that's in our hands to assist individuals. And being able to say we tried everything that we could try to help this individual, and if we did do everything that we could do for them, you know, it's not complete solace, but it gives you at least, you know, you take that home. Yeah. I tried very hard to help this individual, and it's unfortunate, of course, you know, we have success stories, yes we do, but we also have other stories that end up very very sadly, right? Mm-hmm. So it's hard. You want to add anything to this? No.
So would you say that mental health is a major component in this department?
Yes.
For the people we serve, or for
both?
For both. You know.
For both, yes, I agree with this. I think it's something that, of course, in recent years has become more of a raising issue, right? I think nationwide, worldwide, mental health, right, and what it means. And not because our clients are experiencing mental health issues or being diagnosed with mental health issues. That's not what we're saying, is that there's so much emotions happening in these cases. Just think about the process of just walking into a courtroom. The nervousness, the anxiety, you don't know the process. For us, it's easy because we're so used to it, and the language and the process, it's an everyday thing. But we always have to remind ourselves and our officers, like, just the stress of walking into a courthouse and not knowing what's going to happen. Just the stress of coming down from the courthouse into our offices to not having someone tell you what to do. You know, you're giving up a lot of liberty. So yes, there is a lot of mental health that needs to be considered when we're supervising these clients and their families. And then for our officers and us as well, our staff, definitely. If you look at a juvenile detention officer, the responsibility and liability that they have when they're supervising a juvenile that's detained, they're in their custody. It's their responsibility that that individual stays healthy and feels okay where he or she is at. That's a huge responsibility, and I'll tell you what, we have a really good staff. They're very good at de-escalating and talking to the kids, at putting themselves at ease with them, making them feel comfortable. I've seen it firsthand from the moment I started, and it's not easy. Because you get, you know, attitudes, challenges, nobody wants to be in there. And it's scary. If you go into that building, it is intimidating. It's scary for a juvenile, I think. And even in the world of adult, I can tell you the same thing, especially people who have no experience of going through this system. It's very intimidating to have to come into somebody's office. They're giving you about 20 directions of like, you can't do this, effective today. We're taking away all your rights, right? I'm gonna go into your house whenever I want to. I'm gonna search your house, your belongings whenever I want to. Your kids are there. You're gonna have to explain to them why I'm at your house. You need to tell your employer that I'm gonna go to your house. It's life-changing. So yes, it does affect their mental health. But even for officers, now we're looking at the probation side. They're responsible also to meet the requirements that the court imposed, that the state puts on us, that we have to do A, B, and C. And then other matters that probably the chief and supervisor, chief deputy are enforcing on them. A lot to handle, right? So we try to work with them as much as possible and be understanding. I think Lisa and the supervisors are very good about reminding ourselves, like, we used to be in their position. What can we do to help you? Do you need to come in extra hours? Do you need to stay after hours because the phone stopped ringing and you have more time to focus on it? And then, well, of course, taking their leave time, finding activities for them.
And the situation that we have right now, for example, with juvenile detention, right? We operate on 24/7, even though we can't keep a kid more than 23 hours, but if it's necessary to detain a juvenile, we must be available. And there's a lot of challenges when, having just 4 full-time detention officers. We run into issues where burnout, them being tired because the trip to Pinal County is 3 hours. So we have probation officers helping out with radio communications over at the detention center. And in addition to that, we have supervisors, we have Berenice, and sometimes myself assisting with those transports to Pinal County as well. So you can imagine we're 3 divisions. We're responsible for 3 divisions. We oversee the 3 divisions, and we make the best use of all our resources to make this happen, right? And I'll just take advantage and add, since Berenice shared what a probation officer and detention officer goes through, I really do think, and you might say, well, he's a chief, he has to say this, but no, I have to say that we work with some of the most well-trained, professional officers and support staff all around. And I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that. We're very good people working for us. Thank God. Okay, you'll be nice.
Does parenting affect the kids, or does it not matter?
No, it matters a lot. It matters a lot. It's a situation when a juvenile ends up in one of our programs, and we have different programs. We have diversion programs that are very short term and for lesser serious offenses that we manage, right? But we also have, of course, longer term probation programs where a juvenile is actually ordered to serve a term in probation. But the fact is that when we get these juveniles, they've already, the influence from home is already there, right? And this is from birth, right? And as I was saying earlier, some of these juveniles that we work with have very unfortunate situations. Parenting, has a lot to do with it. Some of the most, challenging cases that we deal with is when there's a case of abandonment for juveniles, where a juvenile is being raised maybe by grandma, maybe by an aunt, because the parents have their own issues, they have their own challenges. Some of these parents are also in the legal system, right? But for much more serious situations, some of them, may be in local jail, some of them may be in prison. But that's probably the most serious cases that I'm talking about. But there's other situations that we deal with too. There's many parenting styles, right? And everybody has a right to raise their children as they want. But it is evident when a home does not offer a place where juveniles know that there's going to be consequences for their actions, or where they don't need to take responsibility for their actions. They develop issues that make it very difficult for them to operate better at school or anywhere they go. So yes, parenting, it's a major hurdle.
I agree. And I think also we've seen the other side too, where they have the cliche, right? It takes a village. They have a very good village. They have very good parents.
Of course.
The peer support, the peer influence, right, has a lot to do with it. And even in the adult system, you'll see it. I mean, you'll go to sentencings and half of the room is probably there to support one of the clients.
Right.
And you know that they have all the support, they're always there. But for some reason, they have that peer influence that's always there. So it works both ways. I mean, yes, we see a lot of what Lisa's talking about, but we also on occasion see that they have all the support, the parenting is there. And in adult, it's a little more challenging to find out the background, right, of what's been going on because they're adults. They've transpired over many years now. So, but you do get the opportunity to learn more because most terms in adult probation supervision are longer. You're talking 3 to 5 years. Some of them are lifetime. You do get to learn more. Juvenile is more short term.
And I do want to add with juveniles, I'm talking about scenarios that are very serious and very challenging, but I do want to point out to the community that this is, there's a small percentage of juveniles that present these types of issues. We serve a lot of juveniles and most of them go through our diversion programs, short-term programs, and they're kids out and about getting in trouble, but they get in enough trouble where they're referred to our department. They go through these programs and we try to teach them that they need to take responsibility and there's consequences for behavior, right? And most of these kids go through our program and we never see them again, right? But there is a small percentage of those kids that I've been talking about, with huge challenges, and that's where most of our resources go. So there's a lot of good kids in our community, many, and they're all good kids. I mean, even the ones with challenges are good kids. They just need an opportunity to demonstrate that they're good kids.
With a different environment.
Exactly.
Surrounded, yes.
Is there any myth that you would like the public to know about?
I guess we're going to thank you guys and Mr. Davis for giving us the opportunity to put out to the community what we actually do. Just the title probation department doesn't give you the best reputation probably in the community, right? Because of the impact that we put on people's lives. But the opportunity to just express to everybody, to demonstrate that there is something good to our program, that our goals are to fulfill and help the community. And I think we're just very grateful, and like Lisa's mentioned, we have such an amazing team that I do want to take the time to acknowledge that and recognize them, from support staff, detention officers, probation officers. The departments would not function without them. But we're very grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you guys for being here with us.
Of course. I have one last question before we move on to more kind of laid back, silly questions.
All right.
What is your success story? What's one of your success stories that you're really proud of?
I'll share mine. I started working in adult probation, and then shortly after I transferred to juvenile probation, and I've been working with both divisions throughout my career. But one of the things that makes me feel very, very good is that when I'm out in the community, I still see some of the first probationers I had in my caseload back in 1999 as adults, right? And I'll see them out in the community, I'll see them in the store, and they'll approach me and they'll say hello like an old friend, right? And they're doing well. They'll tell me, hey, I cleaned up, I'm doing well, and it's always good to hear that, right?
Yeah.
It's always good to hear that they're doing well, and it's amazing just to see them and to hear that, and that they appreciate your presence, right? Because if they didn't appreciate your presence, I don't think they would be saying hello or approaching you, right? There was this young lady, she was an adult, and she was also in one of my first caseloads, and not too long ago I saw her at Walmart, and I had never met her mom, and she was there with her mom, and she always says hello, and now she gives me hugs because she's not in probation anymore, so that's and then she introduced me to her mom, and she kind of hesitated a little bit, and I said, we're old friends, I told her. We're old friends, because I never call people out. I don't like calling people out and telling them, I used to supervise her. But then she went ahead and said, he was my PO, she said. So, it's just those interactions, and then I get to see, people in the community who I supervise as juveniles that are now adults, and sometimes they're with their families, they're with their kids. Hey, these are my kids, I'm working now, and I'm not in trouble anymore. And that's always, I'm always happy to hear that, because the truth is that when you're working a caseload, you hardly hear someone tell you, hey, thank you, thank you for your help, thank you for assisting me. Usually it's something that we do, and they take with them even after they leave the program. and then later they kind of find an appreciation for what we try to do. And I'm not saying that all the credit is ours, of course not, right? Because they need their family to help them out, they need their employers, people at school. Everybody needs to do their part to assist these individuals in getting better, right? But at least we have we also have a percentage of that, right? And they thank us for it, and then, that would be my success story. It's various success stories.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I've had those experiences, not as many as police. I think the world of adult is a little more, it's different, more dry, more challenging. I think also one of our success story, and I think Luis and I share it, is just getting in our careers to management and how we've changed the department. Even before this management, we had one of the best probation departments in the state, and that was recognized. Credit to Pilar Romero.
Yes.
Who now works for Human Resources. He was our chief for a very long time.
Good. Tell him he said hello.
But he left a great paw print there for us to follow.
He did.
We were very well educated and trained, and although our department has changed because times have changed, employees have changed, we have a lot of younger employees. But I think that for me, I never imagined being in management or as a supervisor for that sake, but I've enjoyed it. We have it's amazing how much of an impact you have on the people you work with, right? And I always tell them, this morning, one of the officers or one of the staff was like, we're always laughing, huh? And I'm like, that's good. Yeah, we want you to laugh, right? You have to come here for 8 hours.
We need to laugh when working with this type of case.
Exactly. Yeah. You guys have so much stress. We want to make it, comfortable for you guys to want to be here because I know how much work you have. I know what you have to do. I know the challenges you guys are facing. And even though our jobs are not easy because there's so many components and so many people you have to influence and get through and, face challenges you have to face, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it for the most part. Remind me of that. Okay?
I will.
When I'm
we have a recording.
Maybe I said that. But I really enjoy the people I work with.
That's good. So to conclude our serious questions, I heard this rumor a while ago, but I want to verify it. Is it true that there were PlayStations and Xboxes at the juvenile facility? Yeah.
There was.
No way.
Really? I thought that was just a rumor.
No, it was used as an incentive.
Yeah.
So if the juveniles, when we were a full-fledged facility and kids were there for days, if they were, if they were following the rules, if they were doing well, we needed to have incentives for them, right? And one of the incentives was that, right? We also had a guitar, we had a foosball, ping pong table. So, right.
Game room.
Yes. Correct. Right. So, I'll use this forum, to help the community understand that juvenile detention centers are nothing like what you see on the Hollywood screen. Okay, so some people, especially, of course, I understand parents who have kids that being detained. That's the first thought that they have, but that's not what it is. It's we have a lot of mandates that we need to follow, and part of the mandates is that we need to have an incentive system for good behavior. And yes, so that yes, we did have PlayStations. Yeah. They weren't there all day, of course, because it's a very structured thing, right? School, exercise, you eat, and whenever they had in the evenings after school, when there was an opportunity to provide that, they would be given that opportunity. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
What's a funny story that you experienced while patrolling or being in duty?
Fun story.
Or funny,
Funny
I'll
stuff.
tell you a funny story. So when I was first started, we used to work graveyard shifts. We don't do that. So they put us in teams to go do searches at houses. So there was about 8 officers, and we divided into 2 teams, and we would hit 2 different houses at the same time to do searches, right? Each officer had a case, so we pick 2 houses, whatever. But I remember one of the nights, we decided to go have dinner, and there used to be like a taco restaurant next to churches.
Okay.
Yeah. You guys were probably too young for that. You remember, right? But I remember it was there that we were going to go eat, and we completely forgot. And so that on our patrol vehicles, because you were detaining people, the locks on the back doors don't open from the inside. You have to have somebody open the door from the outside. Well, we completely left an officer there, like 2 hours. Right while we were eating. Until there was like an hour, of course our lunch was an hour. We came back and we were like, what happened? The officer's livid in the back seat. We had to buy lunch.
Oh my god.
also that we would go to the houses during these searches and the same thing would happen. You would get off, so you have to get off and get in position because you already know, like, you're going to this door, you're going to that door, you're going to the back. You have assignments, right? So as soon as you get off the car, you know you have to get there promptly because you're all going into the house at the same time. But we would forget to open the back door. So more than once we did leave an officer in the back.
Oh my goodness.
What would he say? Like,
Well, they'd be yelling, like, ah!
You didn't hear, like, pounding on the windows or anything?
so
Like, you have to think, you have the adrenaline going.
Oh, well, yeah.
You're thinking about the assignment, and
The
the
last thing you
safety.
think of is a cop left in the car.
it just like goes down, and you're like, oh, I'm
We're missing one person.
Yeah, later on you're like, where's this one? Oh yeah. And they're mad, like trying to get to the front door, trying to unlock it. So that was fun.
Do you have any you'd like to share?
No, I think I'll keep them.
Have you ever met someone in the past that you've detained and they have kids and they'll tell you if you misbehave, you're gonna go with them.
Sí.
Te van a llevar, si no te comportes bien.
And it is unfortunate that happens.
Yeah.
But yes, it happens.
Just to like threaten them.
Yeah, and then you see them at Walmart and the kids running away.
Right. It creates a bad image for us, with a big bad guy, but no. And the other thing I think that parents just need to. When you transfer that authority to somebody else, that kid says, well, tú no me vas a hacer nada, y ese amigo no está aquí ahorita.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
that's true.
So, just a word of advice, don't do it.
That's so funny.
Keep your authority.
Thank you.
Any more? Sam, you got nothing?
Yeah, I have nothing, but thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate the time that you had doing this interview with us. We really much enjoyed it. We learned a lot. We really appreciate it.
I'm glad you learned.
Not only did you educate us, but you also educated the viewers, and hopefully they know not to tell their kids that you're going to take away. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day and being with us today,
Of course.
and we'll see you guys on another episode of Go 101.